p.m. when you play with your preferred Players Club card on that day. Go-go dancers, free admission, and free party favors. It's going to be ultra hot at the Ultra Lounge, as you know. Get all the latest promotions, entertainment, and dining specials at MuckleshootCasino.com. Again, the Muckleshoot Casino in Auburn, the biggest and best in the Northwest, and proud sponsors here of the realest sports talk show in the Northwest, Game Time Sports Talk, brought to you weekday afternoons from 1 till 3. JB along with KB. Big P, of course, here at Studio 3Z. Let's go to the hotline where we find Commando Dave. Game Time, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, JB and KB?
Hey, what's going on, Commando?
Oh, man, good to be on with you guys again. Football Friday, Big P crashing the board. You know the deal.
Absolutely. And you're one of our listeners that understood the Fat Boy reference.
Yes, sir.
Or you remember the Fat Boy.
Yes, I do.
There was a few of our listeners that don't know who the Fat Boys are. Commando, were you one of the Radio Raheems? Okay,
Yeah.
did you have the speaker with the Adidas on and with the 20D batteries over the shoulder? Right?
No, I wasn't exactly that guy, but I still love those guys.
No doubt. Football Friday.
Football Friday, man. A big Football Friday heading into a big football Sunday. And you guys might accuse me of looking back because I'm looking forward to Week 14 from a Week 1 and 4 perspectives. Now, you guys can say that I'm stuck in a 2012 NFL time warp, but man, weeks 1 and 4 are just stuck in my craw, especially looking forward to Week 14 because, as we know, in the first 4 weeks, nobody knows who, anyone is in the NFL. So if you win 4 games in a row, you look like one of the top teams in the league. But if you then go on and lose 8 in a row by Week 14, we all know, in the words of Coach Denny Green, the Cardinals who we thought they were. In Week 1, nobody. And as a defensive player, it just is completely unacceptable to knock the starting quarterback out of the game, only to have the backup come in cold and light you up in a one series for a touchdown. And then, speaking of Week 4, a player comes out of the huddle on a field goal, jogs over to the sideline unnoticed, and caught a touchdown pass. So, as I look forward to the rematch of the Arizona Cardinals and sizing things up for the Seahawks for a playoff run, I just can't get over a 7-5 Seahawks that should be leading the division at 9-3 going into this game.
Could be, but at the same time, there's some games that we've won, games that we've lost that we should have won that we should have lost, I should say. I mean, as Bill Parcells says, your record is, you are what your record is, and we're not 4-8. We're 7-5. The Cardinals are 4-8, and they're coming in here. And you're absolutely right. And I hope for our sake and for the Seahawks' sake that they're just like you. That game or those games, especially knowing what they dropped, and this being their first chance to get back in the division, which they're winless in.
Right. That's my point, JB. Thank you.
No, stick it in your craw and go out there and handle your business. I mean, that drive that Kevin Kolb left them on in Week 1, eerily similar to the one that we saw Matthew Stafford lead them on in Detroit. And that type of defense is what we have been kind of complaining about. Them giving up those chunks of yards, especially on 3rd down, over the middle of the field. And at the end of the game.
That's what I'm getting at.
That needs to stop.
Right.
That's all year long. These guys, I mean, you got helter-skelter out there, helter-skelton out there, and by no means does he even resemble a decent quarterback.
Right.
And for, to me, this is you should be chomping at the bit. If you are Alan Branch and I know that we have Red Bryant that's got the foot injury. He's probably going to try to play through the pain once again. That's a tough boy. That's a big guy who's very, very tough. But, if you're Brandon Meebane, if you're Bruce Irvin, one of these guys that plays on the defensive line, you've got to look at it and say, forget bringing the linebackers. We don't need heat.
to put pressure on this guy with this offensive line and that quarterback. I mean, it should be a feast. It should be a field day for those defensive linemen out there.
And, you know, the funny thing about what you said, JB, you made the two straight points that I was somewhat making from a comical standpoint. One, we're winless in the, you know, you did say we won, you know, games that we shouldn't have, you know, won, that type of thing, granted. But that's the point, man. You know, the game, and I said this earlier in the season, man, they're beating the wrong guys. And so, week 14, here we are, winless in the division, I think is the real point that I was getting at, man. And so, and we know how division games go, put it that way. I mean, and we know how, you know, a team that's on a 0-8 run goes. And so don't think that this is just a... Thank you. This is not just a cakewalk. These guys are just going to come on in and, you know, lay down. So that becomes the somewhat, you know, interesting aspect of this game between the Cardinals and the Seahawks, because it's a division game that you really should have already won, but you're trying to get your first division win this week.
I agree. And you know what? You could take their hearts early. Because a team that has lost their last 8 games in a row.
Right.
Okay, we're talking about 2.5 months, basically, since they have won their last game. If you jump on them early and that crowd gets going, and it's going to be raining, okay? And we're talking about desert birds, man. They're used to the warmth. They're going to be like, man, look, get me out of here.
Yep.
Get me out of here. That's what you need to do. The thing is that they have a defense, and that's what I'm really curious to see, is how much this offense has evolved, how much Russell Wilson has evolved, especially from facing this team the time before. Show them what you're worth. Show them what you're working with. Absolutely, they're going to bring it on the defense. But that's what I want to see, is how much this offense has evolved going up against this defense, because this defense is a defense that, I mean, this could be a defense of a division leader, to say the least. And it could be, if they had any type of decent offense, this might be one of the elite teams. If you had a better offensive line, you know, and you had even just a game manager at the quarterback position, then yeah, you would be talking about a team that's fighting for a playoff spot right now with the way that defense plays. But you know, they're going to be bringing it. They're going to bring it after. Or they're going to be coming after Russell Wilson. It was pretty. They were pretty successful with the blitz in the first game. I don't think that they're going to go away from that. And we'll see if Russell has evolved, like you said, and he's going to be able to turn around and beat it now that he sees it for a second time. But the last thing that you want to do with this team, and that's why it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you jump on them, if you jump on them early, they'll probably be looking for the buses and looking for the plane home. But you can't give this team confidence. That's my point. You cannot give this team confidence, and that crowd, you can't quiet that crowd. I mean, the excitement has got to be there.
Right.
That means bringing it on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. And to wrap that part of it up, like I said, man, week 14, as we talked about, man, in week 1, great way to start the season off, just the way I like it, man. Let's just roll our sleeves up, get into the division, and start getting those division wins. And like I said, for a team that came out like they were somebody, now we know who they are. Or should we say who they ain't? Man, let's just hope they ain't anyone, as you just said, KB, on Sunday there in Seahawks Stadium. Call it Quest or whatever else they want to call it, Clink and all that kind of stuff if you want to. I call it Seahawks Stadium. But I'm going to wrap up right quick, man, on one thing that I spoke about the last time I was on, about this arena situation.
Okay.
And I was remiss by not mentioning that I'm working on a We the Fans Internet Media Network documentary called Sonic's Bait. Because I'm seeing, you guys, the same types of so-called public-private partnership lures we saw with the Seahawks Stadium and Safeco Field. I mean, how many times was the public told by the private that the outdoor football stadium was going to be natural grass? Over and over and over. And in fact, it was cemented with the statement, it's got to be grass because we're going to play soccer, and soccer has to be, you know, played on natural grass. Next thing we know, well, what had happened is it's field turf, right? And then how many times did we hear the Mariners say that they would pay the cost overruns on Safeco Field? Man, like repeatedly. But when the cost overruns ran to $100 million, they balked. And with what I know about the legal and binding documents and the city ordinances that are inexplicably tied to them, I can say without reservation that Sonic fans are being baited with green and gold smoke. And in my estimation, there is no more wordplay evidence than SonicsArena.com releasing a very impressive and highly informative 73-page presentation last week with the official title, Seattle Arena. And most likely, that's due to the legal confines and constrictions of what I was talking about, these documents. Despite them jumping the gun and, with the name of the website, Sonic's Arena, the official name of the presentation, which was slick, is Seattle Arena. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The arena in SoDo comes down to the Seattle Sonics versus Seattle NBA. And let me be even more emphatic, because the city of Seattle has a $30 million incentive to have the arena in SoDo per the MOU dated July 2nd, 2008. And that cash would be coming from one Clayton Bennett himself, according to paragraph 4, which makes paragraph 6, the one I've been talking about over and over with the history and the legacy, that type of thing, make all the more sense in the world. Because, and I'll end it with this, I'm not unlike anyone else in sports. I don't say things to try to be wrong. I mean, when I was the Week 9 game time prognosticator, contrary to my 7-7 record game timers, I was trying to pick games right, but on this arena thing, I never wanted to be more wrong in my life. Mm-hmm. That I can assure you.
And I hope you are. As do basketball fans, and obviously it's been quiet on that front because there are a lot of lawyers that are looking things through and through, reading in between the lines, trying to find loopholes or trying to get around loopholes, if you will, depending on what side that they're on, just as you talk about. I think you're waiting for the next domino to fall. We obviously know what that is, and that is, of course, with the Sacramento Kings and what they're going to do with their situation. Mm-hmm. They've got to figure out that situation. Once that, of course, is either resolved or it sways a certain way, then I think we'll start to see some of the things move. But I think that right now you have a lot of CYA going on, and your points are valid, especially when you talk about watching out for what happened in the past and how we've been duped. But let's be honest, this memorandum of understanding is, even though you bring up, of course, some great points to watch out for as far as what we were duped with before. But this is a lot different, and it is a different time and a different era than when these were. This is a whole almost 20 years later now, and here we are talking about initiatives and whatnot that had to get around that were passed, so you couldn't even build an arena in the city anymore, and they found ways around that. So I'm still looking at the glasses half full with the green and gold juice, if you will. And I'm still the juice. I'm still sipping from the cup, and we'll definitely see. I just hope that gold isn't, you know what I mean. But I'm tired of getting on, and you know what I mean. So it's going to be interesting. I think that even though, thank you. Even though I said, and I said this with green and gold glasses, and hoping, and who knows, things might change here in the next 2.5 weeks. By Christmas, we'd have some type of understanding. I think that we're more or less looking after the first of the year. That really start to get rolling because, as you talked about, look, that deadline date, 5 years that you talked about, like you said, July 2nd, 2013, it's coming up.
And the reason that I'm saying what I just said is that when this presentation came out last week, I reviewed the MOU from 4.5 years ago, if you will, and paragraph 4 has 3 things that, if they happen, then the city of Seattle doesn't get the additional $30 million. If you remember, they got a $45 million down payment, and then there were 3 other conditions for the $30 million. One of them, or I should say the first one, was if the legislature of January 2009 acts and makes a move in towards of putting some money towards the renovation of Key Arena. That didn't happen. So the second was if Howard Schultz's, should I say Howard's Dutch Schultz, fake lawsuit was successful and forced the team to stay. That didn't happen. The third is, and it's still in play, if an owner decides to bring a team back to Seattle and plays in a renovated Key Arena, then the city doesn't get that $30 million. And that's your $30 million incentive that the city of Seattle has for ensuring that the NBA does not come back to Key Arena, Seattle Center. And then when you jump over to paragraph 6, that then says, unless an NBA team playing in Seattle plays in a renovated Key Arena, it cannot be called the Seattle Supersonics. So I understand what you're saying. You make some excellent points as always, JB, in terms of the behind the scenes and lawyers and the CYA and that type of thing. Well, I'm one of the guys behind the scenes looking at the exact same documents that these attorneys are. And when you add it all up, those are the incentives. It's going to probably almost be a tit for tat deal. You're going to get that $30 million, but we're going to retain the Seattle Supersonics name. And heck, this year they were putting this past year they put out 1967 Oklahoma Thunder.
I know.
Okay, then. So that becomes that's the long game for Clayton Bennett. And again, when you read that MOU, it's surprising. It's so slanted towards the Professional Basketball Club LLC, and it's just shocking that it got by the city attorney at that time. Because if you go to, you'll see a link on SeattleSonicsMIA.com. It's called Sonics Bait, and I've got a number of trailers on there already. And the one most recent that I put up that has a sound clip from Chris Hansen saying that this situation is just like the Baltimore Ravens, or I should say the Cleveland Browns situation. And there's also a clip of me on there talking about how it's not. And then there's a guy a little bit later in the video where you have a guy that's from Cleveland that's saying, that was part of the settlement. Art Modell did not leave everything there in Cleveland for the Browns to come back. He was contractually obligated to do that. And so that's how these things roll. And that's why, as sports fans, Seattle fans, Sonic fans, I mean, this is things that, as you said a little while ago, that deadline's coming up. And these are issues that the green and gold smoke is just really covering up. And when it clears, we're all going to be holding bags that aren't going to say the Sonics on it.
What's your, that's interesting, and encourage the game timers to go there and check it out. What's your gut feeling on how this is all going to turn out?
I just gave it to you.
That's your gut? Is that your gut, or is that what you're looking at?
I can't see it any other way because, again, when we talk about these public-private partnership situations, as us being part of the public, I would rather these types of things be put on the table right away. I would, hope that a guy like Chris Hansen is, locked into it enough, and he's proven that he is, to be able to have a handle on every single one of the issues that he has to address as a prospective builder of the arena, along with owner of an NBA team. And for him to just, if you listen to him in this clip that I have at SeattleSonicsMIA.com, you will hear how nonchalant he is when the interviewer asked him about this particular matter. And so...
well, here's my question.
Yes.
I don't mean to cut you off, but my question is, what is it worth to Clay Bennett, other than not paying that $30 million, to keep the Sonics, to keep their history, to keep the Seattle Supersonics? I don't understand what it's worth to that franchise there that's now the Thunder.
Yeah, that you and me agree on the same thing. As I said, the one thing that it can be is the merchandising. The other thing, I guess, is the legacy of being tied into trying to get guys, and they've tried this already. Try to get Gary Payton down there. Try to get Sean Kemp coming down there. I mean, those types of things. So, it's just like in any other dealing. You throw as much stuff up on the wall and to see what you can get to stick, and that's what this MOU to me represents. So when you talk about my gut feeling, this is why exactly why I'm raising these issues constantly on this station and others, along with videos that I've been putting on YouTube, the website, and everything, because it sounds like everything is on the up and up when they use Seattle Sonics and NBA interchangeably, but they are not the same thing.
I'll tell you this, and we could always call Jesse Jones in the end. Right? I mean, the investigator, right? I mean, I'm being facetious, but KB, make your last point.
No, I didn't have any points really to make. I mean, I understand exactly what Commando Dave is telling us or warning us about, and most of us here, we are NBA fans, but I think more of us in this town are Sonic fans. And if the NBA comes back, that's great, but I think that people are expecting and are wanting the Sonic.
Yeah, it'll be bittersweet if it's anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think that the generation that didn't experience the Sonics, they could care less.
Yeah, they could care less.
That's the point, right?
But you know what? They're not going to be the ones, of course, spending money on season tickets just as of yet. So I mean, it's that fresh, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all comes out. I think it's interesting that the Thunder continue to, of course, dangle the carrot, if you will, or throw the piece of raw meat, or basically just smear it in our face, however you want to look at it, to Sonic fans with some of the ridiculousness that they put out there. But I think you make some valid points, some things to really keep an eye on and follow here in the weeks and months to come, and it's going to be interesting to see how this thing does play out. What do you got to say in closing, Commando?
Oh man, I forgot to give a shout out to the offensive player of the week, Russell Wilson. And oh gosh, just looking forward to this game. Again, we've said it before, and we'll keep saying it, man. This is why we love the NFL, because it's a week-to-week thing. Baseball, you playing a game, you lose, okay, you got to get over it. You playing tomorrow. Same thing with the NBA, or next couple nights. But that's why I started off with week 1 and week 4, looking at week 14, because we always have a week of hand wringing to get to the next Sunday. So, man, go Seahawks.
That'll definitely work. Hey, quick thoughts. Though I know that I asked for your shout-outs. Your quick thoughts on the cornerback situation.
Well, it's too bad Brandon Browner wasn't on Adderall when he met Carl Bennett, number 80 of the Bears, at the goal line for Chicago's first TD. I mean, it's disappointing he didn't wrap up. I mean, that's a goal line play, and you got to come with force and drive the ball carrier back and not flip him into the end zone. I'll say that.
My son said the same thing.
The other part of it is, that's what we all love about football, is the depth chart. And when you get your chance to play, hey, get in there and start playing, because this is the National Football League. In the words of Jerry Glanville, NFL stands for not for long. So now you have this chance to prove that you belong in the league. Go out there and play the game. So I started as a corner, and I knew there was always a guy that was behind me that if I wasn't doing the job, he was going to step up. And that's what not only happens in real life at other people's jobs, it happens in sports as well. If someone's not doing the job, step up and get the job done.
There you go. Right. What we say, KB? Next man up.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you, brother. Have a great weekend, and we'll definitely catch you on the other side.
Roger that, you guys. Always good being on with you. Thank you.
No doubt. Commando Dave checking in and out here on Game Time Sports Talk. No doubt.